Podcast Network Asia. FirstMetroSec is providing this podcast as a general market commentary. Reference to any specific security, product, or entity do not constitute as an offer or a solicitation of an offer to buy or sell any financial instruments or to participate in any particular trading strategy. The statements, comments, views, or opinions expressed by the hosts are subject to change without notice, and FirstMetroSec is under no obligation to update, amend, change, or correct any of the statements, comments, views, or opinions expressed. The statements, comments, views, and opinions expressed by the guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the view of FirstMetroSec. FirstMetroSec disclaims any liability arising from reliance on or reference to any information obtained in this podcast.
You are listening to First Metro Securities Philippine Stock Market Weekly podcast, where we feature timely and relevant discussions on the Philippine stock market and the economy in the hope of providing you investing and trading guidance. Here's your host.
How's it going, investors? Hi, I'm Anjz, an equity research associate from First Metro Securities. Today's podcast is a special episode regarding the MSCI February 2025 rebalancing results and its impact to the market. I am joined here today by my colleague Sam, also an equity research associate from our research team. Hi Sam, how are you doing today?
Hi Anj, I'm good. Thanks for having me. Hi everyone, nice to meet you all.
Thank you for being with us today, Sam. Sakto, ikaw yung maraming alam sa team pagdating sa MSCI. By the way, welcome to the podcast. This is your first time here, right?
It's first time.
Yes, we're gonna have a really productive discussion this episode. So, we invited you here so you could provide insights on the MSCI Quarterly Index Review released last February 12. Pag-usapan natin yung tungkol sa MSCI Index, impact nito sa market, kung paano naapektuhan yung ibang stocks, tsaka ano ba yung magandang course of action to leverage on this scenario. For the benefit of our listeners, ano nga ba yung tinutukoy namin na nangyari? So for MSCI Philippine Standard Index, JG Summit Holdings Inc. or JGS, and Universal Robina Corp. URC were demoted to the MSCI Philippines Small Cap Index, wherein Monde Nissin Corp. or Monde was also added. Sige, let's dissect that one by one before we discuss how that affected the market and why it matters. Let's start with MSCI. Sam, for someone who is not familiar with the term, what's MSCI? And what about the MSCI Philippines Index?
Okay, so the MSCI, or the Morgan Stanley Capital International, is basically a global provider of investment analysis tools. So they cover multiple asset classes, but they're best known for their indexes. So these are used as benchmarks for different investment funds across the globe. So the Philippines Index for the MSCI aims to evaluate the performance of the large and mid-cap stocks in the Philippines. So while there are only around 13 constituents, the index represents around 85% of the Philippine equity market, which is available to foreign investors.
Alright, and just to clarify, the MSCI Philippines Index is different from the Philippine Stock Exchange Index, or the PSEI, right?
Yes, definitely. The PCI is managed by our local stock exchange, or the Philippine Stock Exchange. So the PCI's main goal is to track stocks that would be most representative of the Philippine market. So meanwhile, the basic goal of an MSCI index would be to identify stocks which are large and liquid enough for foreign investors to trade. So each index class would try to cover a certain percentage of free float, which is available to foreign investors. So for example, the Philippine Standard Index, which is again comprising of large and mid-cap stocks, covers around 85% of the market. The MSCI Philippines Investable Market Index, on the other hand, includes small caps in addition to large and mid-caps. So this covers around 99% of the market.
Okay, so kung investor ako, what's it to me? Why should I look into this?
Oh, that's a good question. So MSCI indexes are tracked by funds from all over the world. So when there's a change to the MSCI index, fund managers will have to adjust their portfolios accordingly. So for example, if a stock gets deleted from the index or gets a downweight, fund managers would have to lighten their positions or basically sell these stocks in order to reflect the changes. On the flip side, if a stock gets added or receives a significant upweight, they will have to increase their exposure to the stock, meaning they'll buy more of the stock, which would maybe increase the stock price.
Ibig sabihin, kung investor ako at yung stocks na hawak ko, natanggal, nadagdag, or na-retain sa MSCI indices na nabanggit mo, may significant impact talaga siya sa portfolio ko.
Yes, definitely. As we saw nga in the previous or the most recent index results for the MSCI, so this was in February 12, 2025, we saw mixed but very well expected moves in the stocks that were most affected. So again, these are JGS and URC, which were migrated from standard to small cap, as well as Monde, which joined the Investable Market Index as a small cap stock.
Nabanggit mo Sam yung JGS, URC, tsaka Monde. Can you talk about how the rebalancing results affected each of these stocks?
Oh yeah, sure, of course. So to provide some context, the MSCI indexes are rebalanced quarterly. So when the MSCI is basically evaluating each stock in order to check what size segment to put them in, they have buffer zones to check if their market cap still falls within small or mid-size or large cap. So this is just to ensure consistency for the index to make sure that stocks don't move around too much. So for example, if a stock is assigned to the mid-size segment for the current round, if its price drops significantly, for example, due to poor market sentiment, its market cap would naturally become smaller by the next rebalancing round. If its market cap still falls within the buffer zone, it's all good, and it can stay in the standard index. However, if it falls below the buffer zone, the previously mid-cap stock would be moved to a smaller size segment, which in this case would be the small caps index. So this is what happened to both JGS and URC. So these two will be exiting the Philippine Standard Cap Index and moving to the Small Cap Index. This means that both JGS and URC's prices may remain weak in the near term, at least, of course, until another significant catalyst emerges, as investors continue to anticipate outflows from rebalancing activities. In contrast, Monde re-entering the MSCI Philippine Small Cap Index is very good news for the stock, since Monde met the MSCI's criteria for market cap, liquidity, and foreign investability, it was able to shoot above the buffer zone for index entry. So, and as we saw, MSCI's announcement boosted sentiment for Monde, which closed as the top index performer upon disclosure last February 12. In fact, we saw a 56.03% increase in foreign buying for the stock. In the short term, passive funds focused on tracking the MSCI Investable Market Index, as well as small cap indices, are expected to rebalance their portfolios and add Monde. So this, we think, will potentially drive the stock's price higher. So a bonus for the stock is that we also expect a strong 4Q24 performance on improved consumer sentiment.
Very technical pala talaga siya, no? Lalo na given yung mga criteria na na-mention mo ni MSCI. Pero siguro, ibalik ko lang dun sa point of view na investor ako. So, with all that information, anong gagawin ko ngayon? So, what's a good trading plan that you can recommend so that we can take advantage of this?
The approach per stock would definitely be different. So for JGS and URC, we would suggest selling at current levels. So this would be mainly to protect yourself from any capital outflows that result from the rebalancing activities. For those who want to capitalize on short-term rebounds, however, we would suggest buying the counter on February 28th when the index results become effective. That would be a really good time to buy the stocks on a discount. Meanwhile, for Monde, we would recommend accumulating the stock at current levels. You can also sell this stock on February 28th in order to capitalize on your term swings. So take profits 15% above and set stop loss limits 8% below your average cost.
So, just to recap, ang babantayan kong date is February 28. Ang gagawin ko nun, buy GGS and URC, tapos sell Monde.
Yes.
Alright. Thank you for that, Sam. Itong recommendations ba na to, for the short term ba to, long term? Ilang months yung horizon na tinitingnan natin?
It would be around a 3 months time horizon, so pretty short term, especially since the index rebalancing results would be quarterly. So different stocks might be moving around by that time.
Got it. Maybe other research reports that First Metro has para mabasa rin namin and we can have more trade ideas?
Yes. We actually have other research reports in our FirstMetro Securities trading platforms, which are also related to the MSCI Reval. So if you were tracking our research reports, we also posted on other index rebalancing, such as the PSEI. So you can access these, our Traders Playbooks reports, through the research tab of the website. So in the Traders Playbook, we share our insights on a particular stock in relation to current events, as well as our recommendations on what to do to basically take advantage of what happened. So it's a short and easily actionable report that includes technical analysis on the counter. I think these will be really valuable for our listeners, especially those seeking short-term trade ideas.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Sam. Again, that's our Traders Playbook report. Our clients can access this for free in our platform under the Research tab. Regularly kaming gumagawa niyan, lalo na pag may news or developments related to a particular stock, which again could be a basis for trade ideas. So, yeah, I think that pretty much sums up our discussion this episode.
Great. I really hope that helped everyone listening in.
Definitely. Thank you for coming to the podcast, Sam. Maybe more to come. Really appreciate you sharing your insights.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And that's it for today's podcast. We hope this has been helpful. If you have any topics that you want us to discuss on the pod, please feel free to message us on our socials and we'll gladly look into them. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to First Metro Securities Philippine Stock Market Weekly podcast. Don't forget to follow us to get first dibs on our new episodes. For more up-to-date market news and info, exclusive content, and the opportunity to connect with your fellow Filipino investors and traders, join facebook.com/groups/FirstMetroSec and be part of the FirstMetroSec family.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.